Good evening and a warm Christmas welcome to everyone. Well, tonight we have a very exciting program because we're going live to Derby. And for American viewers, that's Derby, England, and it's in the East Midlands. And we're going to meet a group of people, and Melanie's going to introduce them just now, that are doing something that's absolutely daring, but wonderful and marvelous. Well, we know when we're in heaven, all nations are going to be gathered together. And these people want to see the bride of Christ in all its glory, every tongue, every family, every tribe, all together, worshiping together throughout the UK. What an incredible vision.
Wow. Very, very exciting to be with you tonight on Insight Live. Yes, it is Tuesday evening again. We are live and interactive. I'll be receiving your SMSs and your emails, so please do write in, and you may have some questions for our guests. Kurt, what were the words that you used for the promo? Because that was really, really powerful, and I'm sure if you were watching the promo...
I was talking about, because generally, you know, we want to make kind of our programs like general, okay, not like tied in with Christmas, but we're in this Christmas scene, okay? I mean, you can see, you know, St. Paul's Cathedral in the background, we have a Christmas tree, we have our little moose right here, etc. So it's obviously Christmas, but I think in the promo, I said, you know, if we went back to the first century, not one of the characters was white.
Yes.
But yet we have this, perhaps our Christmas is too white, perhaps we've made Jesus too white, or church is too white, or too vanilla. And I think, you know, Melanie, you and I, we've always had a passion for different cultures. And why I'm so excited about tonight's program, and we'll introduce our guest just now, is this is what we did in San Diego.
Okay, I just have to interrupt you.
Okay.
I'm sure it has something to do with food. Kurt loves food. We love food from different nations. So I think making friends of different nations actually is quite a selfish thing.
Well, don't talk about food right now, because I ate a hamburger and I'm so full.
Anyway, yes, we actually, it's funny how God guides you into situations. If you have an open heart, you're going to meet people of different nationalities, you know, different tribes, different tongue, all that kind of stuff. And when we moved, we actually lived 2 years in a wealthy area in San Diego when we were there. And of course in South Africa it was completely multi kind of, you know, all colors and different kind of tribes or whatever. And that was challenging in itself, having to go through, you know, apartheid and then see the incredible changes that happened. But it was so weird because there we were, not really, we just moved from South Africa. We were in a place called Solana Beach. It turned out to be quite a wealthy area. And we think, what are we doing here? God, what are we doing here?
I was getting bored there.
You were getting bored?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, so then it turned out that God sent a headhunter to headhunt Kurt, and it looked like, and then it was like, okay, this is the couple.
Oh no, it was absolutely crazy. So this guy headhunts me to become a pastor of this church in the inner city, and we go down and it's raining. There's like 10 doors. We couldn't even find the door into the church, so we get in there, and there's like probably about 11 or 12 elderly white people
in this amazing place, which has African Americans, Mexicans, Lao, you name it, Vietnamese, and then we had all the refugees as well from Sudan and various other places. It was so. How many nationalities was it? Can you remember?
Oh, 45 or
That's
something.
Right.
But we'll talk a little about, you know, one of the women we're going to talk to, Karina, actually is doing her master's, I think, at Cambridge, you know, in kind of social entrepreneurialism. And I think, it just reminded me what we started. We started several things. We started something called the Real World Tour, is where we would bring out kids basically all throughout the United States.
Not children, young people.
College age, you know, that kind of age, all throughout America. They would fly in, they would sleep on the pews, and then we would give them things to do. Okay, organize a skateboard contest for all the Laotian people, or let's go and we're going to actually paint and fix up the Somali Muslim Cultural Center. And I remember one time we were like fixing up the Somali Cultural Center, and the Muslim people came by and were getting really angry at us, saying, well, you know, how much are they paying you, and how much blah, 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 blah. And they were getting angry at us and said, no, we're just doing this for the love of God. We're doing this free. Oh, come to my house.
Yeah.
And it was just, we did so many things with these 42 nationalities. And then we started Well, tell them about the One Nation worship
Well, I
celebration.
mean, you started, the interesting thing is it's really about connecting with one person at a time. So Kurt would just invite one pastor to lunch and have a one-on-one lunch. I mean, he was really, really busy, and it would be all the different nationalities. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And, you know, just listening, just being an ear to hear somebody's story is a huge investment in somebody's life, and they just seem to open up. So then that ended up in different churches every month, a different church, a different speaker, and then there were 3 of us on the worship team I was kind of leading, and then we would just bring in like 14 different musicians from all the different churches. It was crazy.
And nationalities.
Yes,
and, yeah.
yes, different nationalities.
I remember one time we did one in an African American church, and what we did is we would never accept money. We would raise money for, say, a project that congregation had. So we were not takers in any way. We were just like givers, givers, givers. And this one church, I invited, you know, like the missions pastor from a wealthy church in Solana Beach. I just love to mix everybody in the stew. I mean, the more nations we could get together, the more exciting it was.
And
so,
the different economic levels as well.
So this one, I think we had it hit about, what, 20 to 30 Sudanese women who were part of the worship team, the choir, but nobody knew they were in there. So there's like a little annex of the church building. So they were all hidden in there. And then after you sang a song, they all came out dancing down the aisle, and people's eyes are just popping out. They'd never seen anything like this. And then they were having such a good time, the Sudanese women, that in their culture, if they have a good time and they don't want to leave, they take off their shoe.
One shoe and put it on their head.
And put it on their heads. So all
there was a major rebellion.
Yes, I know. Nobody wanted this talk, so they all had their shoes on their heads. And you know, the people from the wealthy congregation, the Filipino congregation, the Laotian congregation, it just goes on and on and on. And that's what we call the One Nation worship celebration.
But one of the times that I was deeply touched was we went to, I'm not sure which nationality it was, but one of the churches where they worship themselves with just their culture and their people group. And it was the first time they'd ever worshipped with a white person. And in tears, she was just saying, this is just incredible. We've never had this opportunity before. And I think it just broke down a lot of walls. And I think, you know, what we found was that the more diversity, the richer the experience. And I think you do have to leave your own cultural expectations and just realize that this is actually fun, and not try and kind of control what's going on, you know.
Yeah. Well, we had a great time. I mean, you were in Bristol in the UK, but we had to celebrate Thanksgiving. And traditionally,
this year, yes,
usually we do it
November.
like a turkey and so on, but I took our children to an Ecuadorian restaurant from Ecuador, and we had the food, and the waiters were coming out, and they were from Ecuador. We were having such a good time with them. And I think, you know, how you present like cross-cultural ministry, people say, well, you should, you know, in heaven it's going to be like this, and so on, but it's just so fun. It's so rich. I remember being in San Diego, and we were at the local 7-Eleven, and all the Somalis, kind of the Somali men, and many of these people, they're doctors, lawyers, but you know, they can't practice in the States, so they're hanging out at the 7-Eleven. And I just went up with some of our team members, and we would just talk to them, and we would ask them, has anyone besides a customs officer welcomed you or had a meal with you? Any American? No. So it's just, people are there. I mean, you know, just to welcome them was such a wonderful thing. Anyway, I'm getting very tied up. I remember one time we started a church, we called it All Nations Church. And it was an African-American, George Gunter, Andre Ong, guy from Singapore, and ourselves, and we had a French chef, Eric, and we started the church. And we thought we were going to reach out to primarily Mexican people in this area, but before we knew it, it was like an international Asian student church.
And the homeless, of course, for the soup.
And the homeless,
they love the soup.
All mixed together. So we're going to go over to Adam and Karina Martin right now, but I just wanted to fire everybody up and ask the question, okay, we did something similar in San Diego, but can it be done in a place like Derby or Birmingham or Liverpool or Pershore or London? Is this a viable thing? Will this really work to have one church in an area with 42 nationalities, shared leadership, a shared vision, and kind of reflecting the ethos of heaven? Is it possible? Would you like to be a member of a church like that? And we're going to go to Adam and Karina right now. Hello, guys.
Hi, Adam and Karina. A huge, warm welcome from our Revelation TV family and from Kurt and myself as well. We want to just thank you so much for taking time to be with us this evening. We're very excited because, we've actually been doing a lot of, as I think we spoke about this, we've been doing a lot of interviews with authors, and it's just such a wonderful thing to kind of come back to kind of the kind of ethos of what Insight Live is. And that's to say who's doing what, where are they doing it, how is it impacting the world. So it's just such a privilege for us to be able to just dig into what you guys are doing and to be able to just show our Revelation TV viewers that there are some things shaking around, not only in the UK, but around the world. So a warm welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I really resonate with what you guys were sharing and some of those stories, Kurt. Whilst we're a completely different context here in Derby, but so many of those things you're talking about are the things that fire us up. And
Right. Well, I'm just going to quickly kind of give us a short, a little, I suppose, a synopsis of who you guys are. Okay, so I've got a few notes here because they are so extremely, out there doing things.
I think they're English, Melanie.
Yes, they are English.
I'm just kidding.
So Adam leads Adam leads an international, intercultural church. With his wife Karina, and he has over 25 years of cross-cultural experience and leadership with 4 church plants in the UK and abroad, and together they pioneered an intercultural church in central Derby before joining the leadership team of Reach, a multi-site church based in the East Midlands, which is really exciting. Kurt, do you want to talk about Karina?
Yeah, well, I've been to Derby 2 times and it's rained all the time, so I've never really seen it and everything. But first of all, I just want to ask, how
wait. Karina has to have her little bit here.
Okay,
are you going to introduce Karina?
Karina is doing something that I've never even heard of at Cambridge University. I didn't even know there was a department that would oversee a master's degree in this. But tell the viewers what you're doing at present, and just kind of a bit about your history, and then we'll kind of all mesh it in.
Hi. Yeah. Well, thank you. I
Well, I'll just fill in while she's reconnecting there. So Karina, actually, she set up the Welcome Churches UK, and a charity that helps churches welcome refugees. And we know that the refugee situation has been really painful to watch people come from war-torn lands and really have difficulties in that context. I mean, you're just coming either on your own or with your family, escaping really harsh and difficult situations, some of them extremely life-threatening. So that's what she's been doing. And she doesn't work for them now, but she'll speak about it when we get back to her.
I think she's back. She's
Here we
reconnected.
are. Okay, just a quick update on who you are, Karina. So we've been talking about the refugees and all that. So Come on, fill us in some more.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how much you caught of that. But
No, it's just a couple of sentences.
Yeah. So I'm busy. I'm studying a master's in social innovation, which is social entrepreneurship. So that's about how we can make a difference in the world through being entrepreneurial, through running businesses. But most of my background has been in working with refugees and actually helping them to get welcoming, helping them get established, and then also helping them think about how they might maybe work or run their own business. So we set up a few social enterprises with some of the women and had a great time doing that over the last few years. So that's a little bit of what I've been doing.
Well, that's a huge encouragement. I mean, when I look at the scriptures and, in Hebrews, it's at 10:24, it tells us that we should really encourage each other and incite each other. And I'm just thinking, in terms of being able to provide for themselves, I just think that's so exciting what you've been doing.
But let's slow down. That fits in exactly what Karina is doing. I mean, why do we get together as a church? And I think it is like an incubator, because it says we get together to excite, to encourage each other for noble activities.
That's right.
So think about it. I mean, there's a biblical basis for social entrepreneurialism. Why do we meet together? To encourage people like Wilberforce did, etc., to combat slavery for
and
good
poverty.
Deeds. And
poverty. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we're getting somewhere on this program, which is great. Okay, back to you guys. So
Yeah, so it started really when around 2001, 2002, we heard that people were arriving in our city from countries in the Middle East that we had prayed for when we were students, countries where not many people even know about the gospel of Jesus. And we thought, well, something needs to be done. We couldn't quite see how people like that would fit into our predominantly white, very predictable middle-class kind of a church. So we gathered a little team and we moved into the city centre and just began to create friendships with some of these people arriving as asylum seekers and refugees, not really knowing what God was going to do or how we were going to proceed, but God really blessed that work, and we saw quite a number of people come to faith from Iran, Afghanistan, from Iraq, and other parts of the world. And a little intercultural family emerged, and we realized that this is something that's really on God's heart.
wow.
Yeah, it was great. We had 3 small children, a slightly crazy house, refugees living with us as well. We did a big open house lunch, so we always shared food, which, of course, as you understand, Kurt, is a great way to just to meet people and connect.
It was fun and totally unpredictable.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot, didn't we, through doing it?
We learned a lot.
And then probably about nearly 9 years ago, we were invited to bring that little group back into the mother church that had planted us out, with the vision to see the whole church reflect the diversity of the city around us. And actually, that worked really well. I think
slow down on that. I mean, how was the first day, the first Sunday, the second Sunday? How did that kind of merge into one?
Yeah, it was interesting because our church was probably, 95% white. Yeah. And suddenly we came and we started to say we need to welcome refugees, people from other cultures, and other people came to help us. And before we knew it, a quarter to a third of our congregation was suddenly from a different culture. So there were challenges in that, but also very exciting. And because the whole of our leadership team were on board with this vision, we started to walk through it as a church, talking about it, sharing about it, helping people to connect, to have meals together. One of the lovely things we did to connect, first of all, was to take welcome boxes. So lots of our church started to take welcome boxes to people when they arrived. That would enable them to go and visit in their homes and really get to start to build friendships with some of the refugees that were arriving.
And I think it's fair to say that there was a little bit of nervousness to begin with. Okay. I think naturally we're a bit nervous meeting people from a very different culture. But as soon as people hear the stories of the people who've arrived and actually begin to connect at a personal level, so much of that fear just evaporates and friendships form.
I want to address that fear. It's amazing. When I was pastoring a church, and Melanie and I were pastoring a church in Torremolinos, near Malaga, that big tourist destination. And our congregation was like half Nigerian, Melanie, and then half white, more or less, okay? And I don't know, when I was on that one Sunday, kind of all the black people were sitting on one side and all the white people on the other. And you can see there was a bit of fear because there's like a lot of Nigerian people that no one has ever seen before. So there's like a little fear, a little nervousness. And then this girl who, she was like slightly colored, if they use that, from Brazil. She came in, and then the white people said, sit here, and then the black people said, sit here. So I just stopped the whole message, and I said, guys, we're going to have a picnic. Go out and buy your food right now. This is not right, that we have this wall division and this fear. Let's just address it. And we're going to go out and have a party. So we went out, everybody got the food, had a party. Nigerian guy with his 3,000 euro, sound system turns the volume full up. The music is very danceable. Everyone's dancing. Everyone's having a good time. And since that day, even the people that were most fearful of, say, Nigerians, people of color, were the first people to invite, come over to my house. And the church grew in grace, it grew numerically, and it grew in joy since that time.
We have to create those environments where those friendships can form, because we're in danger of equally having a church where certain groups sit here and other groups sit there. And we really want to become a church where people are connecting at that deeper level. So tonight, we've got, every Tuesday night, we have our global cafe here in the church building. Tonight we've got a Christmas party going on downstairs, and wonderful mix of generations and cultures, and over food and a bit of karaoke. People are making friends. It's
So
great.
can you bring some people in, get them out of the party and onto the television
Yeah.
screen?
We'd love to introduce you to some of our friends. So
Okay.
I'm going to. Shall I invite a friend now?
Yeah, go for it.
Invite
Why
my
not?
friend Arafat to come and join Adam here on
Come
the
and join
chair,
us, Arafat.
and I'll move away. Arafat.
Hello.
Hello, Arafat. So nice to meet you. We're talking to Spain.
you.
We were just with Adam just a couple of days ago in Spain. And where are you from? What's your story?
I'm Arafat and I'm from Iran. It's about 2 years that I'm in England.
Oh, so you've only been in England for 2 years. And how do you find the culture? Was it easy for you to adapt to the culture, or were there some major challenges?
At the first, honestly, it was really difficult living in new country with a different culture, and all the time I think that I should start from zero to build my life, and it was really hard for us. But when I invited to reach Derby in cultural church, and I could find some good friends, be connect with them, and have a good relationship with them. Speak to them about Jesus and find and learn them a new thing. It was really it was amazing and fantastic for me. And
Yeah, I have to say, Arafat has been a huge blessing to us in the church. And actually, quite soon, she emerged as someone who had a gift to be able to lead groups. And so you've been running a course called, in Farsi, it's called Isakist, which I think means "Who is Jesus?"
Yes, and we try to help some new Christian that they didn't know anything about Jesus. Help them that know him better and find their correct way in this way. It's really
It's been going really well.
yes, it's
hasn't it?
encouraged
Yeah,
them to stay in this way.
Really amazing. I just wanted to know, did you move with your whole family to the UK?
I'm here with I came here with my son, but the other members of my family are here. Yes.
Oh, good. That's so lovely that you've got family as well. But it looks like you seem to be making an impact with the church as well. I mean, leading groups. And how many people, are they mostly women that you are influencing right now?
In our group for Isakis, every session maybe 5 or 6 people, up to 10 sometimes. But the women are not.
It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Arafat's leading usually a mostly male group, but he's got the confidence to lead that. I mean, you had a career as a lawyer back home, didn't you? So
Yes.
you don't lack confidence, I think.
I love
Really strange for
yeah.
the women in our country that a woman can lead a group.
But it's
Yeah.
very
Some-
interesting because, you know, RFA, when we were pastoring our church in Puerto Banús, remember we had a building before COVID actually, and we decided to celebrate Iranian, you know, New Year's. And so we just put out an invitation to all of the Iranian people. We had about, 110 people that night come. And I think we actually did a symbolic fire jumping as well.
Yeah, we had some candles on the floor and we were just jumping over them. It was a beautiful
Yeah, but it was
evening.
just wonderful people, you know, doctors, lawyers, very educated people, very warm people. And, you know, Melanie and I do a lot of weddings, and I've done a lot of Iranian weddings as well, the Persian weddings that I've loved. So thank you so much.
They know how to party. And actually, you're organising a party for us next week, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you want to explain?
Yeah, tell us about that party, what you're doing.
Try to organize the Yalda night for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in our culture, we celebrate the longest night in 21st of December. That it's the first day of winter in our country, in our date. and we try to celebrate it next week, and we want to show our culture to English people.
So what will you be doing? What kind of things will you be doing on that night?
For a meal, we serve some watermelon and some special nuts, different fruits. Some
pomegranate.
Yes, pomegranate.
I remember that.
Yes, and some special sweets. And as a for fun, we try to sometimes have a dance, or some people try to sing some old music. And the other thing that is important part is that we read the poem of Hafiz. Maybe
so it'll be poetry.
Yes,
Yes, I know that.
Oh, was that the poem?
It's a very famous poet.
Right.
But it's amazing, I love that verse in the last chapter of the book of Revelation where it talks about when the New Jerusalem comes to earth, that all the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into the New Jerusalem, meaning their culture. So it's just kind of like a foretaste of heaven, hearing about what she's doing at this party. And so what other type of, we used to do that, Melanie. We used to do that like every Tuesday or Wednesday. I think Wednesday we used to have a party at our house in the inner city. And like one week we would invite all the Sudanese women in, and they would teach us to cook, and we'd have mixed the Sudanese together with different cultures. But I love that verse where it says, they'll bring their cultural splendor. And so what other type of events do you do at your gathering, if I could use that word?
For Nowruz.
Yeah, Nowruz, which is the
celebrate
new year.
Nowruz, yes, that is our new year. But unfortunately, during these 2 years, because of COVID, we couldn't gather. It was hard time for all of us.
So what happened during COVID? Did you lose people, or are they coming back, or how did COVID affect your international gathering?
We were in touch on Zoom all the time, and twice a week. It was really useful and helpful. It's helped people that didn't get frustrated, and helped them to be happy, because most of the Iranian people are single here, and they were in one room for a long time. It was really hard for them.
It was a very lonely time for a lot of people, and your culture, probably more than ours, is very sociable.
Yes,
so I'm
we are
sure you missed getting together, didn't you? And, so it's so nice that we can begin to do that now. We hope that will carry on.
Yeah. So, Melanie.
So, we actually do have a couple of emails here.
We are live, by the way. It's not pre-recorded. This is live.
So just to talk to Liz. Liz, you wrote in and you said, what has it got to do with White Christmas? Isn't it got to do with snow? I think you misunderstood. There was a play on words there. Kurt, just explain, because we are talking actually about cross-cultural things and how people misperceived that Jesus was white, blue eyes and all that kind of stuff, when actually he's Middle Eastern. So, when he was in his flesh.
Oh, simply, I'm just saying how I grew up. I grew up in San Francisco, California, and I just grew up with one single Christmas tradition. And then I knew there was other Christmas traditions when I married Melanie, who is British. And then when we lived in Africa and around the world, and I've been exposed. So when I say a white Christmas, I'm not meaning like with clothes. It means that it's an Anglo-Saxon cultural Christmas.
Not a
and
snowy
many times,
one. Not a snowy one.
Yeah, not a snowy one. Although when we celebrate Christmas here in southern Spain, when we go up to our house in Granada, there probably will be some snow. So it's more, I'm talking about including other cultures, especially that verse in Revelation where it says the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into the New Jerusalem, and we like to celebrate the bride of Christ in all its diversity.
Okay, so that was Liz. And we had Dylan, you've written in. Hi, Dylan. It looks like you want to meet all these wonderful people.
I would too.
Absolutely. And Dylan wants you to baptize him, Adam, but he's in Londonderry. So I don't know whether that's going to work. But he also says, I would love a church like that, Kurt, with 42 nationalities. Dylan, absolutely. Les, you've written in a little earlier, just to catch you up here, and you said, nativity, snow, not likely. Hello, Kurt and Melanie. People would not have looked white in the Middle East. More olive skin when Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, came into the world in Bethlehem, the town of David in Judea. Can you imagine how bright it must have been when some shepherds were in a field watching their flocks at night, and the glory of the Lord shone around them as an angel of the Lord with a great company of heavenly hosts appeared to them, praising God. Absolutely. Just a beautiful vision of what took place those 2,000 years ago, Christmas. So we do have somebody else who wrote in, and I can't find your email right now. You were a little upset that we were saying about Christmas. We do realize that we've chosen to celebrate Jesus' birthday on the 25th of December because the world recognizes that, and it's actually a great opportunity not to fight but to have peace and to be able to actually have the conversation that Jesus is the Messiah. He's the promised one of old. So yes, we know that it's not his birthday.
Actually, the first Christmas, in a sense, I mean, look, the Magi, the wise man, the kings, or we don't even know how many there were, whatever, and they came and visited the baby Jesus. He was probably a couple years old then, but most scholars believe that they were from Iran, Melanie, the Magi. So
yes.
Anyway, let's go back to our guests, and let's meet somebody else from another nation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate Rich Darby, Adam, and Karina that gathered us together.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I wish we had
Thank
2
you.
hours, but we don't.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to introduce a very good friend of ours, Leslie. Come and join us, Leslie. And
I remember Leslie.
We know
I saw her
Leslie.
leading worship.
She's a beautiful singer, a gorgeous
Yes.
worship leader, and we've seen you in the UK at one of our the Transform or our Synergies. Lovely to see you, Leslie, and to hear more about your life. Come, tell us about yourself.
Well, actually, it was interesting listening to Adam and Karina talk about ICC. So I actually became a Christian over 10 years ago now as part of the ICC gathering.
it was our little intercultural church plant that we did way back when we were still working it out.
So that's kind of how I became a Christian, and gosh, that was a long time ago. And then I moved around the world to work, and then came back.
You came back.
So let me ask you a specific question, because I mean, I know you lead worship, I've seen you, and how do you lead worship if, say, for example, you have 42 nationalities, you're in Derby, I mean, how do you lead worship?
I think, the main thing I believe is just making an effort. I think as always, trying to include a different language into a psalm is actually not easy. It's not easy for the musicians or the singers, and it's not easy for the congregation. But we have a church that's full of people who actually really want to include other nationalities and to be welcoming of the diversity of his bride. So even if we just tried, sometimes we do a psalm. How Great Is Our God is a great example. We've done it in, I think, 10 different languages. So we just try to even have like 1 or 2 lines in different languages, and it just helps to make people know that they're welcome, even if they aren't. English isn't their first language.
I was thrilled just a few weeks ago. Leslie has been working on translating a song from Cantonese into English. And so we were looking forward to hearing this. But you started off singing in Cantonese, which is the language you grew up with.
Yes.
And it was just so powerful to see Leslie singing in her own language for the first time. I'd not seen that before. Just so moving. And then we sang it in English after that.
Beautiful, beautiful. I remember we were doing the One Nation Worship Celebration, and we had some Indonesians, and we had this beautiful rehearsal. And I still remember the words now, and there's something when you make an effort, and I'm sure you know this, Leslie, when you make an effort to sing in another language for a different culture. It was a very, very meaningful time, and I love it. And they translated that song also into English so we could sing it in English. It was beautiful.
But I think that's the key, what Leslie said, is you have to make an effort, a sacrifice to show interest, to show love, I think that's a wonderful verse where Paul says, I become all things to all people, to win as many to the Lord. And there's something about that trying. Here in Spain, if you're a tourist, if you're British and you come in here and you speak 3 Spanish words, they'll love you, they'll hug you, well, before COVID, they would have kissed you for making the effort.
And a very interesting question from one of our regular viewers, Chandra Kumar Sukumaran, his last name is. And
at least they're trying to pronounce
he's
his name.
saying, "Hi, Adam." And he's basically saying, so when you invite the refugees in, is there a possibility that there might be a bad apple, somebody who might, be an antichrist type of person? That's what he's saying. How do you guarantee that? And I think you've got, we've spoken about this, about friendship and about how we do things. Perhaps maybe you can explain to him.
Yeah, that is a question. And I think that was one of the fears and concerns that people had in the church initially when a lot of people were arriving clearly from the Middle East. And, it was when there was a lot of fear of terrorism around. And one of the things that we've been able to do, we're blessed to have people in our church who've served God overseas. Some of them speak Farsi and Ari and some of the languages that these people is their mother tongue. So they are able to run some groups, the sort of thing that Arafat was talking about, whereby you can get to know people at a more personal level. And they would then bring them along on a Sunday and introduce them to us. So it's a very relational approach, which has really helped us. Now, of course, there's always, people turning up who are they're there for the first time and we don't know them. But very quickly, there are people around who will connect with them. And I think that's really helped us.
It's kind of, sorry, carry on.
Oh yeah, so it's really interesting because I actually lived with a lady who was Iranian, and she was when I knew her, she was leading groups, and she was just a really on fire Christian who really showed the love of Christ. And I asked her this question when I was living with her because I was a bit skeptical and interested as well. And she actually said to me, she said, when I first came here, I claimed to be a Christian, but I wasn't.
Wow.
And she actually got to know Jesus after going to church.
Yeah.
And she said, so for her, she never she's just there to love and serve. Because she remembers herself going there, saying she was a Christian, knowing she wasn't, but coming into the church and meeting the body and actually falling in love with Jesus through that process and becoming a leader in the community. Yeah. And so that really impacted me, actually, because she said, it's the Lord and the Holy Spirit that will move.
That's so good. And we see Jesus doing this, don't we? He welcomed all comers. People came with all sorts of agendas and reasons, and yet he extended a welcome to them. So we're really just trying to capture that heart.
I think this is really wonderful to be able to see this perspective. Kurt and I have been exposed to this, but many of our viewers have not. They might be in a small community, very English, rural, where they don't have anybody else from another nationality, another nation, another tongue. And so this is wonderful to be able to see how what you're doing and the impact it's having. And Leslie, for you, that was 10 years ago, to have had this extraordinary experience where people have been welcoming, where we just show brotherly love and kindness, not depending on, the race you are or that you believe exactly the same as us, but actually just on that very human, the basis of just being a human being. And I think that is a very impressive thing, because sometimes that is quite challenging. It's scary, and when you don't speak the same language and maybe you make some mistakes, maybe you can kind of just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I mean, do you have anything you want to share? Because I think for me...
Well, I suppose at the moment, Leslie's coordinating a welcome for people from Hong Kong who are arriving in numbers into the UK and even into our own city. And so I have no experience really of getting a Hong Kong culture. So it's great having someone like Leslie to just help us to understand one another in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, and I think I mean it's been an absolute pleasure and joy welcoming people from Hong Kong, and it's interesting because I've not had that many Hong Kongers around me for a long time. Really? And it's great, and you find actually, you know, there's there's a lot of ways you can help, and in ways that you just don't even think is necessary, things that we don't think about at all, like how to heat up the house in the winter, where to go to buy cough medicine, you know, where to, you know, just the most mundane sort of regular day-to-day things, where you reach out and say hello, and they just want to become part of the community. And so there's a lot of ways in which we can actually help welcome people from Hong Kong, and even just befriending them and reaching out, it's enough to dispel all of the cultural differences.
That's true, and they're bringing a fresh vitality into church life already. I'm seeing that, as you said right at the beginning, Kurt. Different cultures bring different gifts into the body, into the family of God, and I'm excited to see what God's going to do in our churches with some brothers and sisters from Hong Kong coming to join us.
Yeah.
Speaking about different cultures, I believe you have another guest. And by the way, Leslie, I was in China, this is years ago before I was married. I mean, it must have been 38 years ago. I was there for 3 months. No English, nothing. I didn't even know where to go. I couldn't read any of the signs. So imagine, you know, if you're in a foreign country like that and a believer, a Christian full of love comes along and shows you where to buy cough medicine, that is like a burst of heaven.
Yeah, just a second. So Leslie, I mean, some of our viewers might not really be fully aware of what's happening and why people are coming from Hong Kong. I mean, we do know that there's huge political changes there, but so the deep sadness of people having to leave, can you just give us a quick kind of peek into, you know, how are these people, you know, how, when they're arriving, how are they?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I think people from Hong Kong are leaving because they no longer believe that Hong Kong is the same as the Hong Kong that they love, and it's they you know, I've met a lot of people from Hong Kong, and they all, you know, they come from a really good economical background. Most of them will have owned property in Hong Kong, which they'll have to sell. Some of them come without even telling their family members that they're coming, because often the political issue of Hong Kong is so polarizing that you know, it really does split, you know, families, and so they come here really just desperate for a fresh start, and I think one thing that really touched me, for example, is one of the really good friends I have now. You know, I talked about what she did in Hong Kong, and she was a famous screenwriter for, you know, and it really, and you know, and we have people come and they said, oh, I'm happy to do anything, you know, start work at the factory, you know, do delivery, and you get to know them, and you realize that actually there's been tremendous sacrifices that they've made, really, to leave everything behind in order to come. And I think the thing with the screenwriter that particularly hit me, because there's no chance of this person being able to find the work that they had back in Hong Kong. And so you can almost see kind of the desperation and the sacrifice, you know, in coming here, wanting to start a new life, and
I mean, there's always reasons why people move. There have got to be significant reasons to leave your homeland, but what we've seen is behind all of that, God is sovereignly at work. I think he's at work in the movements of peoples around the world, because he wants everyone to have the opportunity to hear about Jesus. And so I think we have a responsibility as Christians in Britain, whatever reasons people have come for, to be able to give them that opportunity. Now that they're in a place where there's the freedom to worship the Lord Jesus, we can offer that to them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie. That's gives our viewers an
Up.
insight.
I mean, even in San Diego with the Somalis, the
Yeah.
Sudanese doctors, lawyers, they had no chance. They didn't even speak the language.
So we have just a quick question here. I think, Adam, to you. What a lovely program. It says, I would like to know the contents of the welcome box mentioned earlier. Bless you all much. Love, Janet. So Janet would like to know what's in the welcome box.
Good question.
You know, actually, the contents of the box is almost irrelevant. I mean, it's simple things like maybe some chocolate, some toothpaste, a warm hat and gloves for people if they've arrived in winter in the UK. But really, for people who receive the box, it's a box of love and hope, because it's a sign that we don't hate them, that we want to give them a welcome, and that there are some friends here who will support them. And very often that little box opens the door to a friendship. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Leslie. That
Thank
just
you.
shed a lot of light on things that I didn't previously understand. And you have yet another person from another culture now.
Yes, we've got enough time, just quickly.
You see, time is flying by. Who is it going to be? Who can I guess?
This is Priya, who's been...
Priya, I know you, Priya. Nice to see you. I was just with you a few days ago.
Yes, we were walking the streets of Malaga together. That's lovely. So lovely to see you. Okay, we've got like short amount of time. We want to just really hear your story.
Whoa, the big question.
Condensed version.
Who are you? What are you doing in the UK? Who's your family? What are your beliefs?
What are your challenges?
What are your challenges? There we go.
I'm from a British Indian background, so my parents are Indian and my grandparents actually came to the UK, so that makes me a third generation immigrant. And I'm a Christian because my parents took the brave decision of leaving Sikhism and leaving Hinduism and following Christ. And their story is incredible. And I found it very easy kind of being raised in a Christian family where I knew that I could see my culture as a beautiful thing and I could see my faith as a beautiful thing, and how those marry each other beautifully. So it's great.
Wow, wonderful. So tell us about some of the difficulties for you in the British culture and the way that you're received or treated. You know, we did speak about some of those things when we were having a coffee and a meal. Perhaps our viewers would be interested to see how you, even though you're born there and you feel British, sometimes you don't feel very welcome.
I think the first thing mainly is that when people speak to me, they assume that I am something other than Christian, because they look at the color of my skin and they think either she's Hindu, Sikh or Muslim. And that's an assumption that we can all make, you know, if we're living in a world that's really cosmopolitan, you've got different religions gathering around. But then they kind of ask, oh, so how did you come from that? Were you indoctrinated into it? Were you, are you more European because you're a Christian? And actually the answer is no, because when we look at the message of Jesus, he welcomes us as we are and into a big family where we are united regardless of the colour of our skin. So it's a great way to overcome that kind of feeling of pain and rejection.
Yes.
Wouldn't there be more Christians in India than in the whole of the UK?
Maybe.
That's a good question.
So Priya, what about how you would minister to somebody who's kind of on the journey of kind of feeling part of a community, but they're not quite there? What are some of the things that you would say to somebody who's still feeling a little outside?
I would say search in your own heart. Figure out if there are things that are stopping you from reaching out. Because the one thing for me is that actually I found that I was getting irritated at a lot of my English friends for the things that they were doing, the assumptions that they were making, and I realized that actually that's the anger of my ancestors that has come through. And I want to give that to God. I want to say to God, I don't want that anymore, because these are my brothers and sisters and I want to be able to welcome them wholeheartedly like they have been doing the same for me.
I think that's such an important point, Priya. I think for all of us, whether we're white or Asian or black, that there are issues to do with ethnocentrism and prejudice and struggling with other cultures and we all need God's help. And I think so many of those letters in the New Testament where Paul generally was writing to the Christians saying, love one another, accept one another, welcome one another, get over those things, forgive each other. We need the help of the Holy Spirit to be one family from different cultures, because there is pain and there's history and there's issues of injustice. So I'm not saying they're not important, but with God's help, we can actually come together and celebrate, our unity in Jesus, can't we?
Thinking, I know you're not selling a book, but actually maybe our viewers might want a recommendation of something that they can just start at the beginning. Perhaps they've had no cross-cultural experience at all. Would there be a book that you would recommend that would be something that might help them to taste how to actually slowly get into this cross-cultural experience?
A friend of mine, he's a black author here in the UK called Harvey Kwiani, and he's written a fantastic book. I forget the exact title, but it's something like Multicultural Church or something along those lines. But
Harvey Kwiani.
Kwiani, Kwiani, and he's got some really good reflections on race and faith in the UK at the moment. So that would be a top recommendation. I'm also reading a book by a German church planter called Stephen Beck, called The Mosaic Miracle. And they've just seen a whole lot of new churches planted in the Frankfurt area of Germany, which is incredibly diverse. And it's just a wonderful story of what God can do when you set out to do church differently.
Fantastic. Well, I am so reluctant to tell you that we have come to the end of our program.
I told him we could do 3 hours easily.
So Adam and Priya, thank you so much. Karina and Leslie, thank you so much, all of you, for just making such a rich experience for us, for Kurt and myself, and lovely to see you again as well. And also for our viewers. I mean, some are housebound, some don't get out, and some just need something more gospel to be able to understand how rich and wonderful the kingdom of God is. So thank you so much for being with us. You can give us a wave and say goodbye to our viewers. That would be great.
I'll give them a wave too. Kiss and a wave.
Thank you so much. Lots of love. Enjoy your party. Enjoy your party.
Yeah. Don't stop the party, okay?
Oh, that was so lovely. We really trust that you had just a very flavorful experience, having the interview with, these various cultures. And it is good to see how somebody's heart is, and to see actually that behind that smile there might be some sadness, there may be some loss, and especially when you're now out of your culture, away from your family, and kind of feeling a little lost somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge topic. It just kind of feels like we've looked, like you could have Herods, for example, and if you just look in one little section of the window, you see a little bit of it, and you get a feel of what it's like. You see how fancy it is. Oof, it's expensive, and this is what this program has been tonight. And really, I think my goal was just to get everybody excited about maybe meeting somebody from a different culture. So here's the challenge, okay? Here is the challenge, go out this week, meet somebody from a different culture. And all you have to do, this is what I do, is I say hi, and I just listen to someone's story. I've done this so many times, and so many times no one has really been able to tell their story to somebody else from a different culture, and there's just a wonderful bonding when that happens. So go out and meet somebody, talk to somebody, and invite them to coffee, somebody from a different culture, and you will be blessed.
I think sometimes you can actually read up on the culture, like Kurt would often put his feet on the table. And I said, in some cultures, you can't do that because you're not supposed to show the underneath of your foot. Or in South Africa, there was receiving a present. You'd have to receive it with 2 hands, and and perhaps not look into the person's eyes, so that you are actually really, really.
It's hard to do that, isn't it?
Yes,
it's really hard to do that. Well, it's been so great to be with you all. I wish we had like 200 screens so we could see your faces. But it's been good questions, good emails, and thank you so much for your participation. And all our friends that are watching, God bless you. It's been lovely to be with you.
So go out and meet a person of a different culture and enjoy the kingdom of God.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye.